Welcome back. We continue to drill down on the SEC lawsuit issue and the idea of Ripple being or not being a security. Today, we're going to hear some important comments and statements from Stuart Aldoradi from Ripple. And why doesn't Ripple and why hasn't Ripple ever offered a Ripple or XRP wallet to its holders? Let's roll that beautiful intro and find out.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradley above at the top of the screen, and everything that we're talking about here today. Right here, I have a list of the last 3 days of videos that I have done. And I am recommending, and I've never done this, but I'm recommending that you start with the big reveal right here and then watch this one and this one and this one and even this one from yesterday. And the reason I say that is because each one of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos here, and even this one and the six videos, I really highly recommend that you watch them because they're all loaded with a lot of little information that I believe cumulatively is taking us where we're going. And we're going to start with the idea and the understanding that because we know that the SEC has created a standalone division and office for digital assets recently, I believe because the SEC has the traditional ad hoc test, which is a 4-pronged test called the Howey test. I believe that obviously, the new division overseeing digital assets to the degree that the SEC will need a Howey test for digital assets. I believe through legal precedent of the lawsuit against Ripple will provide that precedent, and we will have what we know as the Ripple test after that. That's personally what I'm seeing right now. Now, what I'd like to do is start right here because this is Lunar Leap Crypto, and this was sent to me by Crypto Dem, and I appreciate both of you. And there's some really, really great insight and comments here by Lunar. Excuse me. And let's start with this. Got to thinking about securities, the Howey test, and XRP. Something I heard from one of the Blockstar podcasts made me recall when Roger Ver mentioned why Ripple does not have a consumer-facing wallet. Let's go on a quick trip. It will be worth it. And you know what? Lunar Leap Crypto is right. It will be worth it. This is really good anytime we can put this together. And this is from XRP Army News. Shout out to Scott. Did a great job with this interview here. And in this clip, Roger Ver, which was the original first investor in Ripple ever. Let's listen to this very important clip here where he talks about why they didn't have this.
On cryptocurrency. And that was one of the real giant setbacks for XRP, though, was in that consent agreement. The United States government basically forced Ripple to not be allowed to have a consumer-facing wallet that they funded themselves, and that's why you don't have the Ripple wallet that's put out by the Ripple company, and that's been a giant setback for XRP. And so you can point right there to the U.S. government. They are delaying the adoption of technology that can improve the lives of every single human being on the planet. So one more reason why, I guess we need to work within the system here, but let's replace the system with a new and better one that empowers everybody all over the planet. And I don't have any problem whatsoever with Ripple being a part of that or XRP being a part of that. And let 1,000 different flowers bloom. You have XRP, you have Litecoin, you have Bitcoin Cash, you have everything.
And that's a really, really great comment. Shout out to Roger Ver and shout out to Digital Asset Investor who had shared that originally as well. And it's just such a great point because if Ripple had a consumer-facing wallet for its customers, then it could really be made. You could really make the case that that is a security because they created a wallet for you to put it in. Right. So very, very important point there. And again, shout out to Lunar Leap Crypto for putting this together in the succession that he did, or they did. I don't know if it's man or woman, but shout out to them for doing it. And what I want to say here now is that they follow up with this. Stuart Aldoradi and David Schwartz discuss securities in the Blockstar's podcast. And this is from 2 months ago, just 60 days ago. Okay. when we had Stuart Aldoradi give these comments. And I'm going to start at this point where we have it set right now, and then I'll interject where we need to align with what we're laying out here. But over the next few minutes here, it is important to listen what Stuart Aldoradi or Stu Aldoradi is actually saying here. Listen to this.
I really can't understand the U.S. regulatory approach without talking about the Howey case, which is this 1946 Supreme Court case. And it's amazing how many people in this industry now, non-lawyers, can now either recite the Howey factors or at least know what the Howey case is. So in Howey, what the Supreme Court said was that where, one, a person invests their money, two, in a common enterprise, and three, is led to expect the profits solely from the efforts of others, you end up with something called an investment contract, which is a form of security under the U.S. law. So what happened in Howey? So in Howey, you had a bunch of tourists in the 1940s down in Florida, and they bought these little slivers of land in Florida, orange groves. But in addition to buying the land, they also paid the seller of that land to manage the orange grove for them, meaning, plant the tree, water the tree, fertilize the tree, pick the oranges, and sell the oranges. And what do I get as that tourist who invested in that land when the oranges are sold? I get to share in a piece of the profits. And the Supreme Court said that that transaction was not just the sale of land, but it was the sale of land and a management agreement amounting to a security. So
that is one of the finest breakdowns, and I broke that Howey case down before as well. But that is about the clearest path that you can put to understanding how that situation became a security and why that case became legal precedent for the crafting of the four-pronged Howey test. Let's keep listening.
Because investors could just sit back and expect profit.
Exactly. Not only sit back, do nothing. Probably not even ever visit the property.
Gotcha.
Right? They never visit the property. So look, while everyone pays attention to the stuff, loves to now talk about orange groves in Howey, there's a whole bunch of cases that tease out this concept. And to kind of get to your point, David, so we have oil drilling rigs, we have barrels of whiskey. We have pay telephones, to the extent anybody remembers what a pay telephone is. We even have beavers. So, and in each one of those cases, I give you my money, purportedly to buy the oil rig or the barrel of whiskey that's sitting in Scotland, or the pay telephones that's sitting in San Francisco somewhere, or beavers that are roaming a fur farm somewhere. And I rely on you to operate the oil rig, to age the whiskey, to empty the change boxes from the payphones, and skin the beavers and sell the fur. And then sell me a portion of the profits you make from doing that. That's a security. I never take possession of or even visit the poor beavers. And I think if you were to sell me the beavers and I decided to take the beavers home with me and resell them in the open market, even if you continue to own your own beavers and you're off promoting beavers and you were making, and telling everybody how great, buying beaver fur is, but if I were to take the beavers home with me and do what I wanted with them, sell them or skin them or feed them and keep them as pets, I don't think anyone would seriously contend that the beavers were securities. But in an odd way, that's kind of how we have ended up with the U.S. In the U.S. With the SEC's approach to digital tokens. So if you kind of wind this back and you look at the application of Howey at the outset of the early ICO cases, it probably made sense because people were tricked into investing their money with an ICO promoter on the promise that a token was going to be built in the future. And the theory underpinning Howey probably made sense. I'm not sure it makes sense in a lot of other cases, especially as the use cases for these digital assets are actually being proven out. So in the U.S., I think we've kind of ended up boiling the frog on this one, if you know what I mean by that.
Okay, and by that comment there, I just want to remark that, talking about the ICOs, that Ripple had gifted, when they were OpenCoin, they had gifted the 100 billion XRP to Ripple now today, and that tells you that they did not the company was already going and then it was gifted to Ripple, so that is their way of sidestepping the ICO moment that most other coins and companies got tangled up in. Let's keep going.
That metaphor.
Yeah, so boiling the frog is when you put a frog in some water and then you heat the water up and then eventually you're boiling the frog, but there's no point at which the water sort of suddenly becomes boiling. And so there's no triggering event that says the frog needs to do something about this hot water. And I guess that's kind of what's happening with regulation. We've got regulation from 1946. We've got technology or court case from 1946. We've got technology that's gradually been changing. And suddenly we find ourselves in a situation where it just doesn't work for us. So how do we fix that?
I think there's a few ways in the U.S. where we can get the much needed clarity. One way is Congress can step in, and there are several members of Congress who are trying to do just that. We have the Blockchain Caucus in Congress, which is a bipartisan group that promotes the future of blockchain technology. We also have the Congressional FinTech Task Force. And look, we support those efforts. We'll continue to work with those legislators. And then, as I think you commented earlier on, we have some state legislators that are trying to provide clarity. Most recently in California, there's a proposed statute that's working its way through the California legislature, and we'll continue to track that and support those efforts. But I think what's probably most useful in the U.S., David, and most practical is if the two principal U.S., what I'll call markets regulators, the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, if they were to join forces together and they engaged in a process where they solicited feedback from the industry and consumers and anyone else who was interested in commenting, and then they proposed a workable framework that protects the integrity of the markets, protects consumers, but doesn't suffocate the innovation in the process. And SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce, she's been incredibly thoughtful on this topic, and she's been working on a safe harbor that would allow blockchain and crypto innovators to innovate without sacrificing consumer interest or the integrity of the market. And in building that safe harbor, she's soliciting feedback. She was doing roadshows, certainly pre-COVID. She was doing roadshows. Now she's doing virtual roadshows. And she's working really hard to strike the right balance between fostering innovation on the one hand and protecting the markets and consumers on the other. So it's not like a lot of folks aren't thinking about this issue and how to get to a rational result.
Really quickly, the safe harbor rule is really for companies that want to come in, create a token, and it gives you, like, I believe it's a 3-year window to really kind of figure out what you are. Like, you might not know, like, is my token an ICO? Is it, what is this thing? Is it just a regular crypto? Is it what is this? A convertible virtual crypto? What is the utility token? What is this thing? And it is good that Hester Peirce has been working on the idea and notion to create this window of safe harbor for companies to come in here until we get something like the Howey test for the digital asset market. And I think that leans into the notion that, hey, we're putting this in place until we get that. Because if you remember, the safe harbor rule came in place, and then just a few weeks ago, we've seen a follow-up, what I believe is a building out on that notion. Now that we've created this safe harbor buffer zone, right, for incoming projects, now we can get that new SEC division released, right? Then we pick the company and the token that we're going to use to set legal precedent here, put the lawsuit out, because look, the reason I believe the lawsuit is even in place is because XRP is absolutely that important. I have said this. Look, it's not to put a flag on the moon, right? But I've called for a price set and a trading halt in the first video ever made 2 years ago. I believe at some point this is a part of the process to the path of where we're going. The ultimate journey to reach the mountaintop involves this matter. It involves this kind of legalities. It involves this kind of effort and motion to get this where it is, to be a legitimate market. What does a legitimate market mean? Because markets are manipulated all the time. And what it really means is a highly regulated market and an even higher regulated asset like XRP, because I believe XRP will be back end to almost everything.
I've spoken to a lot of people on the outside looking in, and they've seen these different groups form that all try to advise regulators on what to do. Sometimes the groups represent different projects or have people from different projects in them. Someone might represent an ICO or someone might represent Ethereum.
I think the industry's trying. Again, it's still a relatively young industry, right? The Securities and Exchange Commission has been around since the early 1930s. So, we are, the industry is still an infant in a crib compared to that. But I do think that there are a number of industry groups that are trying. There's the Blockchain Association, there's the Digital Chamber of Commerce, there's a bunch of others. So I do think that the industry is trying to find its voice on this, and I think it will help. And maybe embedded in your question in terms of if everybody is out there trying to advance their own project and trying to get a unique solution for their own project, that doesn't... Look, I understand why people will want to do that, but then you fall right into what the SEC is saying that they need to do, which is a facts and circumstances test for every single project. So if every single project needs to be kind of looked at and evaluated on its own merits, we're never really going to get to a principle-based, transparent regulatory framework that I think we need in this country.
A principle-based regulated framework that we need, right? That's exactly what he just said. Listen.
Projects or have people from different projects in them. Someone might represent.
The industry is still an infant in a crib compared to that. But I do think that there are a number of industry groups that are trying. There's the Blockchain Association, there's the Digital Chamber of Commerce, there's a bunch of others. So I do think that the industry is trying to find its voice on this, and I think it will help. And maybe embedded in your question in terms of if everybody is out there trying to advance their own project and trying to get a unique solution for their own project, that doesn't... Look, I understand why people will want to do that, but then you fall right into what the SEC is saying that they need to do, which is a facts and circumstances test for every single project. So if every single project needs to be kind of looked at and evaluated on its own merits, we're never really going to get to a principle-based, transparent regulatory framework that I think we need in this country.
Principle-based, transparent, regulated framework that we need in this country. There's only one way to get it, because it's the way we got it with the Howey test. It's through a legal case. That SEC versus Howey was a Supreme Court case. And I think it's exciting to even understand that this may be where this goes, and it has to go there quickly. This cannot take forever, because the truth is they need it more than we want it, and we want it pretty bad, right? But the reality is they need it more than we want it. And who is they? They is the governments around the world, the central banks around the world, the payment providers around the world, the SMEs around the world, and the remittance companies around the world is who needs it really bad. And they will have it. And this is how they go about getting it. All right, that's going to do it for me. Again, I just want to encourage everybody to please go back and watch this series here of videos, starting with the big reveal, Howey test, Ripple test here on the thumbnail. And then this everything from 3 days ago right here on up to today and today's video, this morning's video. I think it would be hugely helpful to have the context of all the information laid out in those videos, and it will bring you what I believe is right up to speed to where we are at this moment. I'm going to wrap it right there. There's some other news. I'll put it in the afternoon video. That's important. We discussed that too. I believe that there are 4 or 5 countries, the biggest countries and economies of the world, that actually control cryptocurrency market through Bitcoin. We'll discuss in the next video. Hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment below and share with somebody you know. Make sure you hit a notification bell. Check out the links in the description box and the comment section for anything that you may want or need. They are trusted, vetted links.